Freddy Dodge has returned to the gold rush as a savior to help people fulfill their dreams. Freddy is a cheat code when it comes to gold mining, as he can handle any setback and difficulty with perfect competence. Let's dive into the wonderful realm of gold mining to explore how he handles situations from minor fixes to huge setbacks. Freddy and Juan moved to northwest Colorado near the Wyoming border to rescue a gold miner who is on the verge of going bankrupt. They do not know much about him except his medium-sized plant that he has set up there, and that he has tried almost every trick to catch a good amount of gold but cannot make notable progress. They find a small, clean setup upon reaching their destination. Peter Friedman, the gold miner whom they intend to help in his mining operation, welcomes them pleasantly. Peter tells them the limiting factor behind his problem, which is to find really fine particles of gold. He does not have salaries in his account to pay to his crew. He is actually a graphic designer who has come to gold mining from the background of website development.
Well, actually, my background is website development. I'm also a graphic designer.
He informs them about his progress in the previous season, when he could collect only 20 ounces in 6 months, which is worth almost $30,000 for the crew of 4 people. His account is almost empty, and he needs $1,000 per day to keep things going. He desperately needs the plant to run in the next couple of weeks to keep him from going bust. He takes them along to show his plant. He shows his screen deck and briefs them about its high frequency that vibrates to remove fine particles of gold, which is their main concern over there. He has also added a centrifugal concentrator, which helps to concentrate fine particles according to his research. Freddy explains the science behind the concentrator that contains a spinning bowl inside with fine holes drilled in it. The water pressure injects water from the holes, hoping to keep the gold pinned while blowing the lighter material out. Peter hopes the concentrator will work in his favor. He shows the tailing sluice for the concentrator. He hesitates to tell the total amount he has spent over there in front of the camera. He will be screwed if their plan does not work. They devise a plan to check the first test run for 6 hours. They will fix the problem after observing the total amount of gold in the first run before proceeding further to the second run, hoping to find a notable increase in Peter's final gold haul. They consider it a difficult spot where Peter has spent almost millions and gets nothing in return. They are all set to start their first run. Peter cues Lance to start the generator. Lance thinks of himself as the chief organizer among the crew, without whom everything will be screwed up. Peter ignites the generator, but it does not work unless he knocks his magical fingers at the generator. He directs the master operator, Hank Hebert, who advances his feeder on seeing his cues. The process of sluicing begins as he ignites the generator, making everyone excited out there. Peter is mining on the shoreline of an ancient lake which is believed to be rich in gold. The powdery sand on this lake contains extremely fine particles of gold. It was first mined in the late 1800s when a group of engineers made a canal to bring water to their site, but they had to shut it down when they could not get enough fine particles of gold. Peter is hopeful to get millions in gold with his designed wash plant that the people in the past could not trap. The shaker deck washes the pay dirt through fine mesh screens into a tank below, from where a pump shifts it to the spinning bowl which separates the fine particles of gold. Suddenly, the pump begins to make strange sounds just after 10 minutes into their first run. Peter rushes to turn it off while calling everyone else to shut it down. They are completely helpless until they get the pump back to advance their mining operation, as it has proved to be a huge setback for them. Freddy has called for his finishing table as a replacement for the spinning bowl to catch the fine particles of gold. It has arrived in time, and they hope it will be helpful for their venture. They fix the screens carefully when they find the finishing table being delivered to them from a distance. Peter is still confused as he has used so many tables before that ended up losing a lot of gold. They fix the table in place, and it is time to see its results now. Freddy, on the other hand, is still hopeful to get results, though it is his first time using the finishing table. He presses the lever and pours the bucket of material they have already cleaned up, just to see how much gold they have wasted during panning. It requires water, gravity, and vibration to shake heavy gold particles in the finishing table. They gather around the shaking table to see the process. Soon, they notice the gold to be accumulated, which requires almost 10 hours of panning, according to Lance. Peter looks a bit relieved to see the results coming. Freddy gives a little bottle to Peter to be filled with gold as a payment for everything, regardless of the amount of gold he gets. They lock a deal and move back to their venture. Freddy and Juan have completed their job as they have replaced the old blocked screens with custom-built larger mesh and prefer the finishing table to accumulate gold. It is time to test the final run to see if they have increased the total amount of gold. Peter runs the plant and it begins washing the pay dirt. They observe coarse tailings on the new screens to see if they are catching more of the fine material. They find it a lot better than the previous ones. Suddenly, Freddy notices that they are losing the fine material once again. Peter rushes to switch on the tailings conveyor that he had forgotten earlier. It has been filled with sand consequently. It has clogged the wheel, which results in slowing it down and causing the head wheel to lose traction. Freddy and Juan rush to the conveyor and begin to throw some sand on it to generate friction to remove the blockage. The conveyor belt begins to move after a short while and continues the sluicing operation. They get faster results with the help of the bigger screens. Freddy is quite satisfied with his fixes. He hopes to get enough gold when they finish the last test of the 6-hour run. Finally, they gather around the cleaning table to see their final results. They expect to get double the amount of gold as compared to their last cleanup when Peter got 0.27 ounces worth $500, which is half of his target amount. The gold weighs 0.84 ounces, making a total of 1.44 ounces worth $3,000. They howl in extreme joy. They have made a 400% increase in their gold finds. Freddy and Juan's fixes could make them almost $300,000 over 6 months. Freddy Dodge has come to rescue Derek's mining operation, who really needs his help to get better results. He has to repay his loan and mining costs, and above all, he needs to buy his family their home by the end of fall this year. Freddy explores the bedrock to see a good amount of gold which Derek is wasting in his partiality to the coarse gold. He shows the gravels that move with water, sinking the gold that settles back to the center of the earth. He takes some gravels in a pan to wash it up to see if there is any gold in it. He finds 10 different colors in the pan after washing it. He hopes to find a pretty good amount of fine gold using their equipment. Freddy drives to Derek and Juan, who are all set to weigh their mining outcomes of a 4-hour test run. To meet his ultimate target of 500 ounces, Derek needs the test run to deliver at least 2 ounces. They put the fine gold on the scale that weighs 1.40 ounces. They look a bit perplexed, but they are still hopeful to get a good amount of gold from the cut. Freddy and Juan go aside to discuss their plan to get their desired results. The main issue has come in the material as Derek is passing bigger rocks through the sluice box, and they really need to do something to avoid losing fine gold. Freddy suggests building an additional length of sluice and putting a punch plate upon it to make an undercurrent box. To make it clear, he draws its print explaining it to be a punch plate with riffles underneath, pretending to be a carpet with all the material dumped in it. The riffles in Derek's sluice box create a vortex that forces the gold into the mats, but the large rocks disrupt by washing out the gold over the end of the sluice. Freddy suggests adding another sluice box with punch plates on it to separate rocks from small materials. It will settle the fine gold in the riffles underneath. Juan likes the idea, and they return to Derek to discuss their plan with him. They tell him about the additional sluice box and all about their plan. Derek agrees to whatever they recommend to cover a huge amount of gold in a short period. In the meantime, they are not sure about their plan to work for them. Instead, they are going based on possibilities. Derek is all set to implement their plan as he has already tried so many other ways and is determined to try this one too. Derek needs at least 30 ounces in his first test run to hit his target of 500 ounces. He is so excited to see the results of their new experiment. They wash the material they have gathered in the sluice and find a fine layer of powdered gold. They are extremely happy to find their idea working in their favor. They continue sluicing that way, and finally, they reach to meet Derek and his family holding gold for 4 hours. The gold weighs 0.17 ounces, which is 5.5 grams. Their plan has added $750 per 10 hours to their sluicing, which can deliver an amount of $75,000 extra in their whole season. They weigh the rest of the gold, which turns out to be 2.34 ounces, increasing their gold finds by 70%. They are extremely happy to find Teo and a half extra ounces a day worth almost $4,000. By the end of the season, Derek should reach $1 million to fulfill all his lifelong dreams. Freddy Dodge brings a rock plow tied with a chain to Roger, who is working on the conveyor. It has cost him only a couple $100. They fix it upon the conveyor belt. Roger likes it as it proves to be a cheaper fix. Conveyors are always cheaper than anything else to move things, but at the same time, they need to be cleaned and maintained as they carry wet material all the time. Freddy needs to repair the conveyor belt, or else it will cost them heavily in the form of tragic setbacks in the sluicing operation. It carries costly material upon it, so they need to hook it up, or else it will tear up sooner or later. Freddy suggests putting a band-aid on it and drills it to fix it strongly. After that, he trims the bulged iron so that it cannot do any damage to anyone by hooking up with them. Juan cues the truck to move backward, as they are about to move the feeder with the help of the excavator, as it carries the generator, so they need to be careful. He takes the responsibility of moving the feeder, as he has been the most experienced operator. Freddy directs him to move side by side. He finds the ground a bit hard. Freddy guides him to move to the opposite side. Juan is in a difficult situation, as he has got electric control panel and the hydraulic pack on the back, and he will lose the control panel if he slips. Freddy guides to advance and drawbacks as per the situation. Finally, they succeeded in transferring the 100-ton heavy feeder to the conveyor. They are a bit relieved to accomplish that risky task without doing any damage. They decide to test it the next day. The next day, they are all set to sluice the pay dirt. Freddy and Juan cheer the crew before getting to the action. They ignite the plant, and the Addams family is only 4 hours away from knowing the progress of Freddy and Juan to make their mining dream fulfilled. They have made all the essential things possible, like the conveyor, the feeder, the rock plow, and the wiper up front. In the first run, they have to slow down the sluicing operation because of the uneven sluice, which causes the wastage of so much material. Freddy orders Roger to increase the speed after examining the plant to cover more yards. Matt finds the gold mining so satisfying that he feels like digging bills out of the ground with bare hands. Freddy and Juan are extremely happy to see their progress so far. The rock plow is working wonderfully, and it keeps its pulley from choking. Juan appreciates Freddy's idea of the wiper and the broom assembling, which costs him only $10. They ensure the plant runs for a full 4 hours without disruption, and they are almost at the end of their second run feeding the plant with the last bucket. They examine the sluice box once they finish the sluicing, and it appears 5 times more than the previous run. Juan prefers to predict about it after washing it up. After 5 hours, the Addams family gathers to weigh their gold finds in the second run. They need 1.25 ounces in that run to hit the weekly target of 15 ounces a week. The gold turns out to be 1.93 ounces, which is 4 times more than the first test. They would get $40,000 a week and reach $1 million at the end of the season. The Addams family seems to be pretty excited about their progress in the gold mining venture. Freddy Dodge and Juan Ibarra have teamed up to rescue the struggling gold miners to reach their goals. They have more ventures to help miners to come out of the crisis while mining. To enjoy more exciting ventures like this one, subscribe to our channel. There are so many television shows out there with massive appeal and popularity. However, there is one that has proven to be the most unique that rises above all others: Gold Rush. It is a show all about the drama, money, and challenges that come with chasing gold and racing against time to make your profit. One of the greatest stars to come out of this harsh environment is Parker Schnabel. But what really happened to Parker Schnabel? Did something negative happen to him? Let's find out. Parker Schnabel is a superstar gold miner on Discovery's reality television series Gold Rush.
Like, I would say that this one definitely costs a lot more to run. They find more gold. It's bigger. It's more comfortable.
But there are a lot of questions in the air about him, his career, and his personal life. To get some of the most common questions out of the way, like what is Gold Rush and Parker's connection to it? Gold Rush is a show that follows different mining families and their gold mining operations in Alaska. Parker Schnabel's family has a long history of gold mining, and he is the latest to start his own operation and take his place as the head of his own crew. Becoming the leader when it comes to gathering the most gold out of all the other crews on the show, he has only grown in experience and ambition. Because of his great success, he has become a fan favorite and has starred in every season of Gold Rush. This popularity even got him his own spin-off show, Gold Rush: Parker's Trail. In his various cameos and spin-off shows, we follow Parker Schnabel across the world, looking for the best gold mining locations, meeting new people, and seeing new places.
I really want to thank you all. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart And I hope that every one of you guys wants to come back.
These new opportunities take up a lot of Parker's time, but give fans extra screen time to enjoy his personality. Seeing him in these foreign environments excites fans, but it only makes them more curious about the parts of his life that remain unaired and unknown. Despite being a fan favorite, he appears to be content with his fame, rarely updating his social media pages with anything too personal, and seemingly uninterested in giving long interviews that touch on his intimate relationships and family life. Parker is a rare type of celebrity who prefers to stay under the radar. New Gold Rush seasons premiere only once a year, and for a brief moment, we can see all of these people in their professional element. We also see their relationships, friendships, and troubles with each other. Parker is an ambitious, kind, and funny person who generally gets along well with people. However, there was some drama on the set of Gold Rush involving Parker and Tony Beets. He believed that the other mining head of the Beets crew was trying to sabotage his work and success just a few seasons ago.
So, as a sign of good faith on my end, I'm just going to bring you some royalties in advance, if that works for you.
This plotline has been an underlying tension in some of the later seasons of Gold Rush as Parker has grown in experience and popularity, causing the king of the Klondike, Tony Beets, to take notice. Of course, this kind of rivalry is typical in a cutthroat industry like gold mining and can create some fantastic television. However, despite the drama on the set of the show, some observant fans and watchers can gather that Parker is doing very well and handles new obstacles and challenges with calm and determination. This reflects a good mindset and a stable home life. Even during the pandemic, when the entire global economy was put in peril, Schnabel and the Gold Rush crew managed to make it to the Yukon and back to their mining and filming schedules. This was also in large part thanks to the government deciding that gold miners qualified as essential workers. An attitude that rejects quitting and marches on no matter the obstacle. This conclusion by fans was put into doubt when they started to notice that Parker was getting less screen time on the show.
Well, Chris, I think it's looking a lot better.
We won't know until the next cleanup, but I think we'll have a happy Parker now.
This concerned people, and they wondered if the producers meant to phase him out completely. But he put those fears to rest when he conducted an old-fashioned question-and-answer style interview online. He explains that the reason he is not on screen as much as he has been in past seasons is because of the added responsibility he has taken on over the years. According to Schnabel, as soon as business starts getting big enough, you're dealing with so much paperwork and permitting and employee stuff and accountants and taxes, and the list goes on and on. I don't enjoy the day-to-day of that, but I enjoy the process and I enjoy the outcomes. A victim of his own booming success, but he doesn't complain about it much. In fact, he even takes time in this Q&A to praise his crew for lightening his stressful workload. He says having varied skills among miners is immensely important, and when a gold mining operation is on the smaller side, members often need to wear many different hats and engage in different jobs. The good thing about his own workload expansion is that it has caused his employees' workload to shrink a bit. This is because Parker's company has grown, and now they are able to hire more hands to help them out and take different chores off the other miners' shoulders.
Over where we're working, we're going to have some really unstable banks. Don't do anything sketchy when it comes to working around the water. Just always stay way back from the edge.
The end of his Q&A session was a sweet and appreciative post to his fans and his team who made all of his success possible. He feels that his team are capable people who can pick up the slack when he is absent as he works to grow the company. So they are never in fear of losing out on opportunity and work. This post did a good job of thanking fans for their concern, while also letting them know that he has had to make sacrifices for the greater good of the company and to reiterate his love and appreciation for his crew. Real fans know that Parker's ambition would never allow for stagnation, and that he always has his priorities in the right order to succeed. He proved this when he answered a fan's question about the toughest challenges he faces on a mine site. Parker explained that the biggest problem that he and his contemporaries face is an industry problem in the gold mining sector. He describes that every industry has what people would coin as the total addressable market, meaning that if a person were to sell newspapers, they would only be allowed to sell to so many people. But this is different in mining. In placer mining in the Yukon, there are only so many ounces of gold in the ground, and they are all fighting over the same ounces of gold. This is a terrifying problem to face, as every new mining crew that joins the industry only makes everyone else's goals that much harder to reach. The gold is a finite resource, and the lands they have traditionally mined are beginning to run dry. Parker's solution to this problem is to find new virgin land that has yet to be excavated, perhaps something he has learned from his spin-off show. However, this is not as easy as it sounds, as gold mining is a hard and expensive business that requires heavy investment for rewards that may not even pay out. He ends this line of thought with a haunting quote, "So that's the big struggle? The goal of every mining company is to put itself out of business." However, even with all of this drama and stress in the business, there are still hints of romance that slip through the cracks of Parker's fiercely private life. With all of his good fortune, intelligence, and skill, it shouldn't come as a surprise that he has already bought himself a home estimated to be around $950,000, and rumors say that he has even found someone to share it with.
72-23. So cheers to all you guys. Thank you.
One whispered love interest is Ashley Yule, who he met in Australia after he invited her to spend the summer in Alaska with him and mine some gold while they were at it. But things between them didn't seem to work out, with Ashley leaving after season 8. Another Australian love interest he had was Tyler Mahoney, who was on a spin-off show, Aussie Gold Hunters, when they met. Unfortunately, they never met in person and seemed to only have a professional relationship. A love interest that really got people talking was Sheena Cowell, who is a Gold Rush co-star and rumored to be single and ready to mingle. Parker Schabel has been in the gold mining industry since he was a child and became the star of a television show as soon as he left school. Famous from a young age, he has worked hard to maintain his privacy and enjoy his life with some level of anonymity out in the world.
But yeah, if you could get it done while I'm gone.
Okay, man. Well, we'll get after it, and hopefully we can keep everything else running while we're doing that.
Thank you, and good luck.
However, fans and media have been able to gather enough information to draw some good conclusions as to what he's been up to and why. Any worried fans out there should put their worries for him behind them. With an estimated $10 million net worth, Parker Schnabel is going to be all right. We hope you had some of your questions answered. Thanks for watching until the end. Make sure to leave a comment down below to tell us what other questions you have about Gold Rush. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth content like this. Turn on notifications so you won't miss out on any new uploads. Gold Rush fans all over the world are excited that Freddy Dodge will be back for another season. This time, Freddy is bringing a famous gold digger with him. It's his blood brother, Derek Dodge. They are ready to go find gold together in the Yukon desert, which is a long way away. Freddy hopes they'll be able to cash in on a huge pile of gold, even though they've had some obstacles. But how are they going to make this happen? Come with us as we look into Freddy Dodge's shocking return to take over the Gold Rush. Freddy Dodge is back. You can watch Gold Rush on the Discovery Channel, Netflix, and Hulu. The 5th season of the show will feature the return of Freddy Dodge, and there will be a special episode called Freddy Dodge Returns to show how he does it. At the start of the episode, the skilled gold miner comes back to help the Hoffman team fix their wash plant. When Freddy's crew tries to get the wash plant back up and running before going to mine for gold, things get pretty complicated and dramatic. Before Freddy came, Todd Hoffman had trouble getting the wash plant to work as well as it could. They lost a lot of gold because it wasn't working the way they thought it would. That's the reason why Freddy Dodge had to come back. Hoffman asked his old friend Freddy to help them fix the problems they were having with the wash plant. Freddy Dodge, who is known as the Gold Guru and is the professional that new gold miners go to for help, showed up to a warm welcome from Hoffman's crew. Without spending any time, Freddy and the Hoffman crew look over the wash plant together to find problems that need to be fixed right away. Not long into the check, Freddy's skilled eyes quickly found the places where the problem was coming from. After making a map and finding the exact spots where the wash plant was having problems that weren't necessary, Freddy and his crew got to work fixing things, but as they worked on the repairs more, they had a sudden discovery. They thought the problem was more complicated and deeper than they first thought. So, Freddy suggested that they would have to totally shut down the wash plant in order to fix it. This caused more time to be wasted and more gold to be left unclaimed. When Freddy came back to the Gold Rush show, fans were eager to see how he and the Hoffman crew worked together to get the wash plant up and running before the gold mining began. Freddy Dodge used his skills as a skilled mechanic to combine his mining work with his mechanical experience. He carefully cut plant parts, welded them together, and put them back together to make a whole. The scene was full of things that showed how much Freddy had learned in his 40 years of experience. Hoffman's team needed Freddy on board, and they could see how helpful it would be to have a miner like him on their side. Freddy and his crew finally got the wash plant up and going after a lot of repairs and changes to the plan. The crew members lost their cool and started dancing and giving high fives to each other. The atmosphere was almost electric with happiness. The party seemed to end just as quickly as it began, though. It dawned on them that fixing the wash plant had taken a couple of days that they could have used to mine gold. The season goes by quickly too, and it will be over before they know it. In the end, they need to make up for lost time and get gold digging going right away. Knowing instinctively what to do, Freddy and the Hoffman crew decided to work even harder and get more help so they could mine as much gold as possible before the season finished. In order to meet this new goal, the crew also worked longer hours. It was easy to see how hard Freddy and his team worked on the episode's script. They moved from place to place and got things done with a clear sense of purpose. People who watched the show got to see the professional level of skill needed to deal with the complexities of gold mining in dangerous scenarios. Even though the season went on and the stress level rose, the workers did their jobs without wasting any time and with confidence. Everyone in the group agreed that they should finish their planned task of gold digging, but something went wrong and slowed them down. The wash plant broke down again, which was not handy since the season was coming up. The team became down because it looked like all their hard work to find more gold was going to be for nothing. Things were getting worse and worse, and they might lose everything they had worked for if they didn't act quickly. Luckily, Freddy Dodge was there to help Todd Hoffman and his team fix whatever problem they were having. But that would take a long time again, and they didn't have a lot of time. People are on the edge of their seats as they watch the crew's mild nervousness build up. There wasn't time for a sorrow party because they had to get something done quickly. That was the end of the show. People who watched the show were left with a strange taste in their mouths because they wanted more. A lot of people were interested in what Freddy would do next and how well it would work. Still, Gold Rush fans couldn't help but show their deep appreciation for how well Freddy, Hoffman, and the rest of the crew got along. Everything about the scene was great, from the tension of figuring out how to get past a big problem to the drama that followed the teamwork. Gold Rush is about Freddy Dodge's life and shows how hard work, focus, and mental toughness are needed to mine gold. Fans of the show get to see what mining is really like in the field, which is very different from what they thought it would be like. It's Freddy Dodge, the gold guru. A loud alarm goes off in the gold neighborhood every time the name Freddy Dodge is mentioned. Some people see him as a way to cheat. Some people see him as the hero of gold companies. No matter what, you can't deny that Freddy has a huge effect on the gold business and on the people who work in gold digging. As a child, Freddy Dodge grew up in Colorado. His family worked as miners. You can see that Freddy not only wants to help gold miners make the most of their efforts, but his genes also give him the skills he needs to live in gold mining. It wasn't a surprise that the gold mine technicians studied geology, drilled, looked for gold, and tested for it, just like his family had done before him. Freddy is very important to the gold mining business because he has spent 40 years learning how to dig for gold, and has learned how to run the drilling and mining activities more cheaply than most people. Finding a way to lower the overall cost of gold mining was another feather in his already impressive cap as a famous miner who knew how to get gold back into the ground. With this information, Freddy Dodge quickly became one of the most sought-after gold experts. He helped new gold miners and business owners whose gold mines weren't making them as much money as they were supposed to. Freddy thought that all the problems that came with gold mining could be solved, so he stepped in to save failed gold mining companies that were about to be shut down. Most gold workers call him when they want to find real gold. People are going to mine for gold more often after seeing the Gold Rush documentary on Discovery Channel that features Freddy Dodge. This is because the documentary brings back the American dream of seeking wealth. A lot of regular people and people from the business world have gone to the American gold fields to look for gold. It's easy for them to give up when they don't find gold and cash in on the rising prices of gold. Now this is where Freddy Dodge comes in. Freddy makes a living by telling others where to find gold, mine it, and process it. He does this to save gold mines. Besides that, he looks at how each gold mine is different and suggests ways to improve business processes so that the cost of mining for gold is lower. Not much is known about Freddy Dodge outside of his work, and he is known for how hard he works. He doesn't want his family life to be public, and he doesn't seem excited about becoming a reality TV star with the Gold Rush show. If it were up to him, he would rather focus on his work and not pay any attention to the news or the outside world. When Freddy Dodge has been on Gold Rush in the past, people who have played the long-running Gold Rush games know Freddy Dodge. In addition to Gold Rush, he has been in many other shows based off of it, such as Gold Rush, Parker's Trail, which followed Parker Schnabel and his special crew as they searched for gold in remote places like Australia and Guyana. Freddy also had small roles in Gold Rush, Dave Turin's Lost Mine, a movie about a miner named the main character who looks for gold in the empty mines of the American Wild West. Discovery Channel's newest Gold Rush spin-off, Hoffman Family Gold, came out in 2022. It follows Todd Hoffman's life as he returns to gold digging. In it, Freddy was also shown. Freddy Dodge has also been in a Gold Rush spin-off called Freddy Dodge's Mine Rescue. In that show, he worked with Juan Ibarra, a skilled mechanic and plumber, to help gold miners across North America get more gold each week. Freddy Dodge's Mine Rescue was the Gold Rush spin-off that did the best at the box office. Viewers loved how honest and hard the work was in helping a failing gold miner get more work in the field. Freddy had agreed with the miner on screen to help raise the amount of gold that was dug up each week. He will get his cut if he is able to do that. He will work for free, though, if he fails. Freddy was under a lot of stress because this was a big task that was being shown live on TV. People put their trust in him and his knowledge at risk. People were paying close attention to him at all times to see how he would reach his goal. All of these things added to the mystery and excitement that made Freddy Dodge's Mine Rescue the most popular of Gold Rush's 8 spin-offs. Freddy's team had to include Juan Ibarra in order to pull off this trick. Juan started out as a plumber and mechanic, but he quit in the middle to become a gold miner. He's had a lot of success since then and is seen by many as a famous gold miner. It makes sense that Freddy Dodge would want to ask him to help with the show. Now Freddy has come back to pick up where he left off in Freddy Dodge's Mine Rescue. Are you excited for Freddy Dodge to come back to TV to take the famous Gold Rush series further? So are we. In the middle of September, clouds were thick over the Klondike, and Tony Beets, who was king of the Klondike, was in a hurry to reach his 5,000-ounce goal. His trial didn't lead to anything, though. After finding this scary thing during the Gold Rush, is Tony Beets' life over? Let us find out. It looked like a big problem as soon as they started digging, but Tony was still hopeful. His main goal was the 80 pup cut, where more than 500 oz of channel gold had just been found. As long as Tony could keep the gold coming in, the veins looked good and paid well. Tony only had 900 ounces though, and the weather was making his plans fail. As it rained, the field turned into a messy mess. No matter what, Tony, who was used to being in charge, couldn't help but think about how it would affect their work. He knew just how dangerous it was, and now he had to face a new truth. This man's drive really moves me, but this task was a lot bigger than his. Tony had already planned to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 weeks ago. This showed how determined he was to get through anything that stood in his way. He did things like double the flow of water from the trommel to fit in with the area. It was definitely an even bigger risk. It was a simple goal: get more gold. Tony was responsible for things that happened earlier in the year because he was always eager. Still, the settling ponds weren't strong enough, and there were already signs of trouble there. Over the radio, the team said that several dikes had been broken. Tony had to make a tough choice. He had to shut down the business so he could raise and secure the dikes. In the Gold Rush, it took a lot of time to make the move that had to be made. They worked hard and sweated to keep water from getting where it shouldn't, because the 80 pup cut had to happen right away. Once more, the water levels were going up and Tony was against them. He couldn't let the weather decide how much money he made in mines. He told you very clearly that you shouldn't mess with your ponds. Tony told his team that they needed to start working on the project right away. Nick, a trustworthy member of Tony's team, was told to keep a close eye on this needless piece next to the pump. It never stopped raining, and the water kept coming. Tony clearly cared a lot about the dikes, and everyone needed to move quickly. He thought about how hard things were for them, and was afraid that he would sink. I believe that being patient and alert are the best things to do in this case. Nature was fighting back, and Tony was in the middle of it all. It became clear that looking for gold wasn't a fun game of cleaning bright little chunks on the patio. It was a battle with time, the weather, and AM's moods that were always changing. When I think about these problems, I can't help but wonder, will Tony Beets be able to get to his 5,000-ounce gold goal? Of course, the 80 pup had its own sparkle, but rain and rising water were against him, so his chances were not good. He was fighting to stay alive while the sound of machines could still be heard all over the area. Their digger got stuck in a settling pond. Tony knew that they would lose a lot of money every day if this big machine couldn't do its job. They had no choice but to stop. Sure, it was a bother, a huge trouble. There was no doubt that the digging would have to stop until the problem was fixed. But Cousin Mike found a way to make things better. He tried his best when he got there in the morning, but his digger ended up going straight into the water. This caused more trouble. Tony and 2 other excavators went on an emergency rescue because they needed to find a way to help. They worked very hard, but it didn't help. It was time for troops, and Tony didn't think twice about sending in the 18T D6 dozer and the huge 115T D1. The question then was how to get that refuse-to-move backhoe out of the bog. Tony made a plan that worked perfectly because he had been digging for a long time. The first thing that had to be done was to pump out the water. To do this, the D6 dozer, a big piece of machinery, was used to push fine tailings into the pit and make a ramp. The plan was to level the ground under the stuck digger so that the big wrestler could pull it out. The colossal 115T D1 850 horsepower rescue mission star was then sent out on patrol to see if it could help. Tony came up with a way for the D11 to drive up onto the strengthened ramp, making a base for this big machine to stand on. The goal was clear: get the 220 loaders out of the mud. It was clear that things were very bad and that time was running out. But each choice came with a price. Tony Beets knew what the risks were and thought about how to fix the problem. I couldn't help but wonder if Tony's plan would work. When the engine started to roar and the machine started to turn, everyone had to help out. This was a battleground between people and nature. It was not easy to get a digger out of the ground. It was also hard to deal with things that didn't go as planned and gain skills and experience in the tough world of gold mine. The loss that Tony Beets was going through could be heard throughout the mines. The water had to be pumped out so that the digger could be taken out. It surely acted as a challenge to the muddy swamp of crisis that had caught Tony's mining business. Tony Beets, on the other hand, was not the type of person to give up. He thought they were going to get a little further along. I think things were starting to get better. The screen showed scenes of relief workers getting the stuck digger out of the way. The D6 dozer was hired to move the tailings, and a simple ramp was built to help with the rescue. They had to walk a fine line between machines and nature, and Tony Beets was determined to be in charge of it. The setting pond became less like a bog as the plan moved forward. He noticed that things were going in the right way. Exploring this swampy area visually also showed how hard things were for the workers on Paradise Hill. As the work with the backhoe went on, I couldn't help but wonder if this was another waste of Tony Beets' time. On top of that, the constant enemy Klondike weather has already slowed down work on Paradise Hill for a whole week. Even though things were getting tougher, Tony was still focused on his 500-ounce goal and stayed positive. Earlier, the backhoe problem caused them to lose about 2 hours of work. It looked like Mike's cousin was to blame because he drove the digger into the mud by accident. When Tony replied, he didn't mince words and said that Mike was stuck because the other person wasn't paying attention. With an operation being held up and a digger getting lost, will Tony Beets and his crew be able to bounce back? It was clear to him that some of his problems were caused by not paying attention to certain things. Some people made the situation funny by telling him he had to describe everything in English, Dutch, or Finnish. The task of rescuing Tony from tough situations naturally improved Tony's engineering skills. As the show goes on, all we can do is admire how strong Tony Beets and his team are. Tony Beets had to deal with this horrifying discovery. Could he get past it, or was it really the end for him? They were going to weigh the gold to see if they had reached their goal. Tony Beets was kind of riding a number-based roller coaster. It meant a huge amount, and the number of ounces meant even more. As they moved through the mine area, 9 diggers called out the count, 10, 30, and so on to keep the family on track. Some buyers saw that number as a sign of hope, but Tony would need more than 300 ounces to reach his goal. The count then got tense, 240, 250, 260. As he and the others went through rock after rock, the numbers kept going up, from highs to ever higher peaks. In their whole mining project, they were either right or wrong. The ounces kept coming, 350, 360, and more. In 1987, more than $500,000 was made. It was worth $850,000, taking their total to 4,601 ounces. They worked very hard for 6 days and got a great result. The 80 pups crops helped with the success in some ways. Even though Tony knew that, at least they knew what 80 pup could do. Things have been going well with that for a while now. Tony looked into the future to see if he could get an even better number. That's why it didn't matter if they had to sling for a day. As long as gold was flowing, that was what mattered. The gunslingers didn't have any trouble with it. It was clear that they were successful, and Tony could only say that if it paid well, then it was fine. It was very hard to understand, and I was afraid that the weather would get in the way of Tony's plans. Tony was pretty happy with the outcome. It was so clear that the characters were friends and had achieved success together that it made me feel like I could relate to the miners who were fighting nature to get gold. At least for now, the never-ending search for gold has paid off. Watch my older movies if you want to learn more about how the world is changing all the time.